Welcome to all. Myself Sachin Dikshit. Welcome to all in this lecture series for calculus of variation, which is one part of classical mechanics. This is first lecture on calculus of variation. In this lecture, we discuss first point, introduction to the topic of calculus of variation. Second, basic lemma of calculus of variation. Third, Euler-Lagrange's differential equation. Fourth, some examples on Euler-Lagrange's differential equation. First, introduction to the topic calculus of variation. Consider the path y is equals to f of x. Whether this path is minimum or maximum at a point can be decided or can be obtained from differential calculus. This point you have to study in 12th standard. In that case, to find maximum point or minimum point, first we have to find out its derivative and take it is equals to 0. That means if the path is y is equals to f of x, then its derivative is y dash is equals to 0. The function is either maximum or minimum at the point depends upon the value of the second derivative of the function at that point. The function is maximum at a point if its second derivative is negative at that point, and it is minimum at the point if its second derivative is positive at that point. But if we want to find the information about the whole path, we use integral calculus, that is the techniques of calculus of variation, and are called as variational principle. Thus, the calculus of variation has its origin in the generalization of elementary theory of maxima and minima of the function of a single variable or more variable. In calculus of variation, we consider the motion of a particle or a system of particles along a curve y is equals to f of x, joining two points P x1 y1 and Q x2 y2. The infinitesimal distance between the 2 points on the curve is given by ds is equals to dx square plus dy square whole bracket raised to half. This is just we have to find out distance by using distance formula. Now just rearrange this term as ds is equals to 1 plus dy by dx bracket square whole bracket raised to half into dx. That means we have to divide dx square and take out this dx. This is dx square, hence we take square root of that is dx. That is, but this dy by dx can be written as y dash. Hence ds is equals to 1 plus y dash square whole bracket raised to half dx. This is the value of ds. Hence the total distance between the 2 points P and Q along the curve is given by I of yx is equals to integral from x1 to x2 ds. That means we have to put the value of ds which we have to find out previously. We get integral from x1 to x2 1 plus y dash square whole bracket raised to half dx. In general, the integrand of a function of the integrand is a function of the independent variable x, the dependent variable y, and its derivative y dash. That means this integrand is a function of three terms. One is independent variable x, dependent variable y, and its derivative y dash. Thus, most general form of the integral is given by I of yx is equals to integral from x1 to x2 f of x y y dash of dx. F of x y y dash of dx. This integral may represents the total path between two given points depending upon the situation of the problem. There are several paths between P and Q. In all these paths, some paths have extremal value, that is at least maximum value or minimum value. In this topic, first we find the condition to be satisfied by y of x such that the functional I of y of x must have an extremum value. We have one note. A functional means a quantity whose values are determined by one or several functions. That is, domain of a functional is a set of all admissible functions. For example, the length of the path L between 2 points is a function of curves y of x, which itself is a function of x. Such functions are called as functionals. Now we discuss basic lemma with proof. Basic lemma of calculus of variation. If x1 and x2 is greater than or equals to x1 are fixed constants and g of x is a particular continuous function for x1 less than or equals to x less than or equals to x2, and if integral from x1 to x2 g of x neta of x dx is equals to 0 for every choice of continuous differentiable function neta x, such that neta of x1 is equals to 0 and neta of x2 is equals to 0, then g of x is equals to 0 identically in x1 less than x less than x2. That means if this condition is satisfied, then g of x must be equals to 0. That is basic lemma of calculus of variation. Now we prove this lemma. Let the lemma be not true. That means we have to prove this theorem by using contradiction procedure. Let lemma be not true. That means if that integral is equals to 0, then gx is not is equals to 0. Let us assume that there is a particular value of x. Let us assume that there is a particular value of x, say x dash, in the interval such that g of x dash is not is equals to 0. in that interval there exists one value x dash for such that g of x dash is not is equals to 0. That is our supposition. Let us assume that g of x dash is greater than or equals to 0. Since gx is continuous function in x1 less than x2 less than x1 less than x less than x2, and in particular it is continuous at x is equals to x dash. This function gx is continuous at x is equals to x dash. That means this is x1 and x2, this is x dash. Now hence if gx is continuous function and in particular it is continuous at x equals to x dash, hence there exists an interval surrounding x dash, say x1 dash less than or equals to x dash less than or equals to x2 dash, in which g of x dash is greater than or equals to 0 everywhere. Means for that value of x dash where gx is continuous function, there exists one interval surrounding to that x dash, say x1 dash x2 dash, for which g of x dash must be greater than or equals to 0 everywhere. Let integral from x1 to x2 g of x neta of x dx is equals to 0 for all permissible choice of neta x. We choose neta of x such that neta of x is equals to, we make here three intervals of total interval x1 to x2. We divide this interval x1 to x2 in three parts. First x1 to x1 dash, second x1 dash to x2 dash, and third is x2 dash to x2. And for these three intervals we have to define this neta of x. The value of neta of x is equals to 0 for x1 less than x less than x1 dash. The value of neta x is x minus x1 dash bracket square x minus x2 dash bracket square for x1 dash less than x less than x2 dash, and the value of neta x is equals to 0 for x2 dash less than or is equals to x less than or is equals to x2. Equation number 1. For this choice of neta x, which also satisfies the condition neta of x1 dash is equals to neta of x2 dash is equals to 0. If we put x is equals to x1 dash in this neta x, obviously here we put x1 dash means this x belonging to this interval. If we put x is equals to x1 dash, this value becomes 0, hence neta of x is equals to 0. On the same way, if we put x2 dash is equals to x is equals to x2 dash, also we get it is equals to 0. That means our condition for neta x will be satisfied here. For this choice of neta x, which also satisfies neta of x1 dash is equals to neta of x2 dash is equals to 0, the integral from x1 to x2 g of x neta of x dx becomes, that means we have to evaluate this with these three intervals as x1 to x2, integral from x1 to x2 g of x neta of x dx is equals to integral from x1 to x1 dash g of x neta x dx plus x1 dash x2 dash g of x neta of x dx plus x2 dash to x2 g of x neta x dx. That means this total interval is x1 to x2. We divide it into three parts. One is x1 to x1 dash, x1 dash to x2 dash, and x2 dash to x2. Now we know the value of neta x in these intervals. For this first interval x1 to x1 dash, neta of x is equals to 0, and also in the last interval from x2 dash to x2, neta of x is equals to 0. And for this x1 dash to x2 dash, we have to define this neta x as x minus x1 dash bracket square y x minus x2 dash bracket square. We put all these values here. We get 0. This value is 0. Neta of x is equals to 0. Neta of x between x1 to x1 dash is equals to 0. His value of this integral is 0. Similarly, neta of x between x2 dash to x2 is 0. Hence this last value is 0. And in the middle integral, we put the value of neta of x as x minus x1 dash bracket square into x minus x2 dash bracket square gx dx. That is, we get x1 dash integral from x1 dash to x2 dash x minus x1 dash bracket square into x minus x2 dash whole bracket square gx dx. Thus, integral from x1 to x2 g of x neta of x is equal neta of x dx is equals to integral from x1 dash to x2 dash x minus x1 dash bracket square x minus x2 dash bracket square g of x dx, equation number 2. Now this is a this is a square, means if we subtract x minus x1 dash, this subtraction is negative, it becomes positive because of this square. On the same line, this term is also positive. That means these two terms are positive. Hence, the value of this integral x1 to x2 gx neta x dx is positive or negative is dependent on the value of g of x only. In this case, since g of x dash is greater than or equal to 0, that is our supposition, in the interval x1 dash less than x dash less than x2 dash. That means if the value of x dash is in between x1 dash to x2 dash, the value of g of x dash must be positive. Now if g of x dash must be positive, obviously the RHS of equation 2 is definitely positive. That is, integral from x1 to x2 g of x neta of x dx must be greater than or strictly greater than 0, means it is a positive term. But this contradicts to the hypothesis. This contradicts to the hypothesis. Hence, integral from x1 to x2 g of x neta of x dx is equals to 0. Similarly, if g of x dash is less than 0, then again we obtain the similar contradiction. Thus, contradiction arises because our assumption that g of x dash is not equals to 0 for x in x1 less than x less than x2. Hence, g of x must be equals to 0. Identically equal to 0 identically in x1 less than x less than x2. Hence, the result that completes the basic lemma. We use this basic lemma to find Euler-Lagrange's differential equation. Next, Euler-Lagrange's differential equation. Find the Euler-Lagrange's differential equation satisfied by twice differentiable function y of x, which extremizes the functional I of y of x is equals to integral from x1 to x2 f of x y y dash of dx, where y is prescribed at the end points. Y is prescribed at the end points. That means this Euler-Lagrange's equation gives a condition for which this I will give extremum value for that term, where this I will be extremizes. That means the function y which extremizes the functional I of y of x. That we have to find out here. Proof of this Euler-Lagrange's equation. Let P of x1 y1 and Q of x2 y2 be two fixed points in xy plane. The points P and Q can be joined by infinitely many curves. We consider the 2 points P and Q, which are the two fixed points in xy plane. These 2 points can be joined by infinitely many curves. Here in the diagram we have to draw 2 curves. One is C, other is C dash. We can also draw so many curves between this P and Q, but here in this case P and Q both are fixed points in xy plane. Accordingly, the value of the integral I will be different for different paths. If path is different, the value of the path is also different. We shall find a curve for which the functional I has an extreme value. We shall find a curve. There are so many curves exist, but we have to find out a curve for which this functional I has an extreme value. Let C be a curve between P and Q, whose equation is given by y is equals to y of x0. We consider one curve C between P and Q, whose equation is y is equals to y of x0. Let the value of functional along the curve C be extremum and is given by I of yx is equals to integral from x1 to x2 f of x y y dash of dx. Equation number 1. Again we consider this diagram. We can label all possible paths starting from P and ending at Q by the family of equations y of x alpha equals to y of x0, means basic curve which we have to say extremize this function I of yx. That is y of x0 plus alpha times neta of x, With this the curves, we define so many curves between P and Q. Equation number 2, where alpha is a parameter and neta of x is any differentiable function of x. For different values of alpha, we get different curves. Accordingly, the value of the integral I will be different for different paths. Since y is prescribed at the endpoints, this implies that there is no variation in y at the endpoints. That means all the curves of the family must be identical at fixed points P and Q. Therefore, that implies neta of x1 is equals to 0 is equals to neta of x2. Equation number 3. Conversely, the condition in equation 3 ensures us that the curves of the family that all passes through the points P and Q. Let the value of the functional along the neighboring curve be given by I of y of x alpha is equals to integral from x1 to x2 f of x comma y of x alpha comma y dash of x alpha dx, equation number 4. That is some neighboring curve we have to take here. From differential calculus, we know the integral I is extremum if dabba I by dabba alpha at alpha is equals to 0 is equal to 0. Since for alpha is equals to 0, the neighboring curve coincides with the curve which gives the extreme values of I. Because if we take alpha is equals to 0, the last term alpha into neta of x will becomes 0. Hence it becomes the same curve as C in that case. Thus dabba I by dabba alpha at alpha is equals to 0 is equals to 0. Now we have to find out this derivative. For that, we have I of y of x alpha is equals to integral from x1 to x2 f of x comma y of x alpha comma y dash of x alpha dx. That is our equation. Now we have to find out its a partial derivative with respect to alpha. For that we have to here it is a function of alpha, so we can find out its partial derivative with respect to alpha. But when we find out its derivative by differential and integral sign, we can shift that derivative to inside the integral sign, and that means we have to find out dabba f by dabba alpha. But what is f? F is a function of x, y and y dash, and in this y and y dash are the functions of x alpha. Both are the functions of x alpha. So if we have to find out its partial derivative with respect to alpha, first x is independent variable, there is no any alpha, but this y contains x and alpha. Hence derivative of this y of x alpha, first we find out dabba f by dabba y, then dabba y by dabba alpha. Apply here chain rule. Plus again in y dash is a function of alpha, therefore first we find out derivative with respect to y dash, that means dabba f by dabba y dash into dabba y dash by dabba alpha into dx is equals to 0. That means to find derivative of this with respect to alpha, we use here differential under integral sign and also chain rule is equals to 0. Now here y of x alpha is equals to y of x0 plus alpha into neta of x, alpha into neta of x. That means if we find out its derivative with respect to alpha, what we get? Dabba y by dabba alpha is equals to neta of x, because this first term y of x0 does not contain any alpha term. Hence its derivative with respect to alpha is neta of x. Now if we take its derivative, we get y dash of x alpha is equals to y dash of x0 plus alpha times neta dash of x. And now find out its derivative with respect to alpha. we get dabba y dash by dabba alpha is equals to neta dash of x is equals to neta dash of x. Now we put these two values, neta of x and neta dash of x, in this expression. We get, using these values in the above equation, we get integral from x1 to x2 dabba f by dabba y neta of x plus dabba f by dabba y dash neta dash of x dx is equals to 0. Now separate out the integrals. We get integral from x1 to x2 dabba f by dabba y neta of x dx plus integral from x1 to x2 dabba f by dabba y dash neta dash of x dx is equals to 0. Now this is the second integral. We integrate this second integral by integration by parts. We integrate this second integral by integration by parts. We get first integral as it is. Integral from x1 to x2 dabba f by dabba y neta of x dx as it is, plus we have to find out its integral by applying integration by parts. The first function u means here we take dabba f by dabba y dash as it is, and v is neta dash of x. Then u as it is, that means dabba f by dabba y dash as it is, integral of this derivative neta dash of x, that is neta of x, with limits x1 to x2, minus integral from x1 to x2 derivative of first function means d by dx of dabba f by dabba y dash, and integral of second, here function is neta dash of x, it is derivative of neta, therefore derivative and integration are opposite processes, hence integration of this neta x, neta dash of x is neta x dx is equals to 0. We get this expression. Since neta of x1 is equals to 0 and neta of x2 is equals to 0, here we have to use upper limit minus lower limit, no any integration here. Now here we substitute upper limit minus lower limit. In that case we get neta of x1 as well as neta of x2, because upper limit is x2 and lower limit is x1. So the value of neta x1 and neta x2 are 0, therefore this total expression will be equal to 0. Hence we obtain integral from x1 to x2 dabba f by dabba y neta of x dx minus integral from x1 to x2 d by dx of dabba f by dabba y dash neta of x dx is equals to 0. Now if we observe this expression, the limits and integration, the limits of integral are same. Also in the integrand of both the integrals, neta of x will be common, so we can combine these two integrals. We get integral from x1 to x2 into bracket dabba f by dabba y minus d by dx of dabba f by dabba y dash whole bracket into neta of x dx is equals to 0. Now by using basic lemma of calculus of variation, we get, in this basic lemma of calculus of variation, if integral from x1 to x2 g of x neta x dx is equals to 0, implies that g of x is equals to 0. Here the value of g of x means this bracket total, neta x dx limits will be as it is. Hence if we apply here basic lemma of calculus of variation, we get dabba f by dabba y minus d by dx of dabba f by dabba y dash is equals to 0, equation number 5. And this equation is called as Euler-Lagrange's differential equation. This equation is called as Euler-Lagrange's differential equation, which is to be satisfied by y of x, for which the functional I has an extreme value. Functional I has an extremum value. Now we generalize this theorem. That means we have to find out Euler-Lagrange's equations for several dependent variables. The Euler-Lagrange's equations that are satisfied by the twice differentiable functions y1, y2, y3 up to yn that extremize the integral I is equals to integral from x1 to x2 f of x y1 y2 up to yn comma y1 dash y2 dash up to yn dash dx. There are total n variables. So with respect to these functions y1, y2, y3 up to yn, which achieve the prescribed values at the fixed points x1, x2, are given by dabba f by dabba yi minus d by dx of dabba f by dabba y dash is equals to 0. These are total n equations. When the dependent variables are n, we get n Euler-Lagrange's equations. Here I varies from 1, 2, 3 up to n. The proof of this theorem is left to the students. Now we define one simple definition as geodesic. Geodesic is defined as the curve of stationary length between 2 points. Stationary length or extreme length between 2 points. Now we solve some examples which are based on Euler-Lagrange's differential equation. First example, show that the geodesic in a Euclidean plane is a straight line. Geodesic in a Euclidean plane is a straight line. Now the geodesic is a curve stationary length between the 2 points. That means it will be shortest distance between 2 points. Shortest distance between 2 points. Hence this question can also be stated as show that the shortest distance between 2 points in a Euclidean plane is a straight line. In Euclidean plane is a straight line. Now we have to prove, we have to show that this means we have to prove this. The shortest distance between 2 points in Euclidean plane is a straight line. Solution. Take Px1 y1 and Qx2 y2 be two fixed points in a Euclidean plane. We consider these 2 points, one is P, other is Q. Let y is equals to f of x be the curve between P and Q. Then the elements of distance between two neighboring points on the curve y is equals to f of x joining P and Q is given by, we take neighboring point of P as P dash with x1 plus dx1 and y2 plus dy1. Then the element of distance between the neighboring 2 points on the curve y is equals to f of x joining P and Q is given by ds is equals to under root of x1 plus dx minus x1 whole bracket square plus y1 plus dy minus y1 whole bracket square. That means we have to apply the distance formula from for p and p dash. We get this result. Now simplify this. x1 gets cancelled, y1 gets cancelled. ds is equals to under root of dx square plus dy square. Squaring on both sides, we get ds square is equals to dx square plus dy square plus dy square. Again, the similar procedure is applied which we have to apply previously. ds square is equals to 1 plus dy by dx bracket square dx square. Means we have to take dx square common in the RHS. This dy by dx can be written as y dash. So we can write ds square is equals to 1 plus y dash square into dx square. Now taking positive square root on both sides, we get ds is equals to 1 plus y dash square whole bracket raised to half into dx. Hence, the total distance between the points P and Q along the curve is given by integral from P to Q ds. That is integral of x1 to x2 1 plus y dash square whole bracket raised to half dx. Equation number 1. That means just we have to put the value of ds in functional I. Now, hence the functional I is extremum if the integrand f is equals to 1 plus y dash square whole bracket raised to half. Equation number 2 must satisfy the Euler-Lagrange's equation dabba f by dabba y minus d by dx of dabba f by dabba y dash is equals to 0. Equation number 3. Now we have to know the value of f here, that is functional or integrand of I. Now from this functional f we can find out the values of dabba f by dabba y and dabba f by dabba y dash. From equation 2 we have, in equation 2 there does not exist any term with the element y. Hence derivative of this, partial derivative of this f with respect to y is 0. And dabba f by dabba y dash means partial derivative of f with respect to y dash. In equation 2 there exists y dash term. Now find out its partial derivative with respect to y dash. Here 1 plus y dash square raised to half, that is our function. To find out its derivative, 1 by 2 into 1 plus y dash square whole bracket raised to 1 by 2 minus 1 into derivative of this inner function, that is 1 plus y dash square. Derivative of 1 is 0, derivative of y dash is 2y dash. Now simplify this 2 and this 2 gets cancelled out. We get dabba f by dabba y dash is equals to y dash into bracket 1 plus y dash square whole bracket raised to minus half. Because 1 by 2 minus 1 gives minus half. That is dabba f by dabba y dash is equals to y dash divided by under root of 1 plus y dash square. Now we have to simplify this. Then equation 3 becomes, means we have to put this dabba f by dabba y and dabba f by dabba y dash value in equation 3. We get dabba f by dabba y is 0, middle minus sign as it is, d by dx into dabba f by dabba y dash means y dash divided by under root of 1 plus y dash square. We have to put this value of dabba f by dabba y dash in this equation number 3 equal to 0. That is, this total is equals to 0, that is d by dx of y dash divided by under root of y dash 1 plus y dash square is equals to 0. Now integrating, we get this derivative is equals to 0, means this integrand must be a constant number. This derivative d by dx is equals to d by dx of this bracket is equals to 0, means this value is equals to c. Therefore integration will be y dash divided by under root of 1 plus y dash square is equals to c. Now cross multiply by this root to this side. We get y dash is equals to c into under root of 1 plus y dash square. Squaring on both sides, we get y dash square is equals to c square into bracket 1 plus y dash square. 1 plus y dash square. Now multiply this c square to this bracket. We get y dash square is equals to c square plus c square y dash square. That means we have to multiply this c square to this both the terms. We get this. Now we transfer this y dash term from RHS to LHS. We get y dash square minus c square y dash square is equals to c square. In the next step, take y dash common. We get 1 minus c square into y dash square is equals to c square. That is, y dash square is equals to c square divided by 1 plus 1 c square divided by 1 minus c square. Taking positive square root on both sides, we get take positive square root on both the sides of this expression. Square root of this y dash square gives y dash. Square root of this c square gives c, and square root of this denominator function, that is 1 plus c square, is under root of 1 minus c square. 1 minus c square. Now in the numerator there is c, in the denominator is also there is c. Now this total will be the constant. Hence we can take this c1 as a constant. So y is equals to c1, since c1 is equals to c divided by under root of 1 minus c square. Integrating, we get, now we integrate the term y dash is equals to c. Integrating this term, we get, that means we have to integrate this y dash is equals to c1. We get y is equals to c1x plus c2. Equation number 4. This is the required equation of a straight line. This is the required equation of straight line. Thus, the shortest distance between 2 points in a Euclidean plane is a straight line. These are the some reference books for this lecture. You may take and use for further study also. Thank you for watching this video.